Welcome back then, everyone, to another post-match episode of Swans Cast, where we're on the end of a defeat for, we don't really have that to say that very often this season, but at the hands of Manchester City, who have shown why they were on a 14-match winning streak before that game, and have now beaten the record set by an English club in English competitions for consecutive wins, I believe, with 15. So we can't be too disheartened considering the opposition. They've just come here off the back of a 4-1 win at Anfield. But yeah, 3-1 defeat to Manchester City. So we're just going to have a quick overview of the match. Before we get into it though, don't forget, if you do enjoy what we're doing here, to subscribe to the channel and to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. It just helps us grow and continue making more content. And let us know in the comments as well what you thought of the game and what you thought about our impressions on the game. So what do we think then, guys, about the game as a whole?
Defensively, first half, I think we're relatively sound. Obviously, they did score that goal from Walker, but Woodman knew nothing about it. I think he was expecting near post from Ferran, like a touch, and he didn't even touch it and it went across him.
Yeah.
I think defensively, though, other than that, I think we're pretty good. Going forward, I think Manning was relatively weak. There were a few balls that were just sort of loosely lobbed.
That's fair enough. Before we go into a little bit too much detail, I do want to say, and I want to just point this out as a little bit of a disclaimer before we do discuss the game. When we obviously we play Manchester City, we're not in the Premier League at the moment, we're in a Championship, so a full league below them. So when we are talking about the players and their performances, some of them didn't have a good performance, but you've got to remember who you're judging them against. You're judging them against potentially the best team in the world, arguably, or Europe, or at least the country. So yeah, they might have had a poor game, but it's not the sort of opposition you want to judge them on as a whole. So it's kind of like a write-off. Yeah, judge it on the performance, but kind of like a write-off. So if someone has done poor, you've got to remember they were up against world-class players. So it's not like, as a whole, not criticising them. I think that's important because there has been some stuff on social media expecting maybe better, and I think it's just important to make the expectations realistic. But yeah, having said that, Lee, have you got anything on what your take of the performance was then?
Yeah, just frustrating, really. I think I agree with what you said about the level of opposition we're playing against, but you can't make those mistakes. Some of the mistakes, the goals were so soft, and it's so unlike us as well to concede goals like that. It's the last team on earth. You want to give those chances away. I know, obviously we can sit here and talk all day about how good Man City are and that, but it's still just a game of football. 11 men on the pitch, and you can't make those mistakes, and that was the most frustrating thing because it's been so unlike us this year to concede soft goals like that. And that's if they had all the ball, if they tear us apart and score a good goal, then fair play. I can accept that, but it's just really frustrating.
No,
the
definitely.
Way the 3 goals went in.
I do agree. I didn't mean for it to be like you can't judge them or judge them on the game.
No, you're right. You're right in what you say.
I think maybe lapse in concentration, but I guess you've got to be 100% switched on at all times against teams like this. They might make the same mistakes in the Championship. We wouldn't notice them as much because it's not punished. That's the difference.
Exactly.
But then that is just a reminder of what level we are currently at. That's kind of what I was getting at, and I know you agree. But yeah, what was you going to say, Ali? Or Lee, go on.
No, I was just going to say, I think apart from that though, I think first half we were okay. I know we expected them to have all of the ball, but I think we looked alright. They only had one real chance, which was the Torres chance, wasn't it? And Woodman made a good save. Apart from that, I don't think they really,
There was another good save, I think. Laporte had a header. Well, that wasn't a save, but he had a head from a corner that went across the face of goal. And Woodman did make a good save from Torres. That might be the one you were on about, actually, is it? Where fingertips to knock it wide.
That's the one. Yeah.
And I think Gabriel Jesus should have done better with his chance at the start of the game. But that's probably not. That's 3 chances I've listed off and then the goal. So you'd maybe expect more.
Yeah, and we had 2 decent chances in the first half as well. Fulton had the header, didn't he? And Lowe went through to the end and had a bit of a half chance. But I thought we were in the game. I think first half was pretty good, but then like conceding straight after half time was the killer. That was game over.
So we'll discuss the match like a little bit consecutively, so we'll get to second half in a second. That's all right. I just want to make sure we don't miss anything out from the first half, really. So if we start then, I think I agree with both of you. It was disappointing. I think it was a really good performance. The players stood up and did well for themselves. I think, again, Liverpool lost 4-1 at Anfield, so they were home, and we've lost 3-1. If you want to make a comparison, like I'm not saying you should compare directly like that, but they've put 4 goals past Liverpool. And in terms of players making mistakes, Alisson, world class, one of the best goalkeepers in the world, was at fault for 2 of the goals. So we've got Latabodia, obviously we'll talk a little bit more in a bit about the second half, but he was at fault for one of the goals. And I don't really know who was at fault for the first one, so let's talk about that a little bit now. You saying Guéhi, I think, Lee, when you... And I don't know what you were saying.
Yeah,
I think if I remember correctly, I thought what happened with the first goal was Robert stepped up.
No, that was the third goal.
Was that the third?
Yeah, we'll come to that. That was the third goal. The first one was the Kyle Walker sort of snuck in.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Snuck in. Just sort of like deceived everyone. It was a cross. You could see from his like the way that he looked up before he hit the ball. He was intending to cross that in. And I think from Woodman's perspective, he's got a Man City player standing between him and where the ball's coming from. He's in a position thinking that player's going to get a touch on a ball. I think everyone thought the player was going to get a touch, but it's gone past him. And then he's got to react, and obviously it's a late reaction. He can't read too much about it. So I don't think it's Woodman's fault, because he's got to expect that player to get a touch. But you saying Guéhi when you leave.
Yeah, it's a bit harsh. It's a bit of a combination of the two, really. I think Manning pushes up, but he doesn't really send Walker anywhere. He's got to try and send him inside there. But he's given him the space on the outside, and he's whipped in a lovely ball, to be fair. It's a horrible ball to deal with.
Yeah.
I think Guéhi can probably attack it as well, so I think it's probably a combination of the two, but it is a great ball in. But yeah, I think combination of them. It's a bit harsh because I think Guéhi was class on the night, but yeah, maybe he could just attack that ball coming in, be a bit more aggressive.
Yeah. And I think like we scored a goal against Brentford, kind of under similar circumstances in a way. A cross ends up going into the goal from the free kick from Horahan. So we're kind of on the receiving end of a similar sort of scenario. But that was very like hard one to take to go behind, because it changes the dynamic really. But I said after the first half it was a positive that they didn't really score a goal from like you said, ripping us apart. Or it was open play, but it was kind of unlucky.
Yeah.
But you know,
and that's why it is so frustrating, is because I think, like I said, we did play really well, and just to concede a really soft goal was really frustrating.
Yeah.
But apart from that, I think we played all right. I mean, like Morris looked right in the first half. He was getting in. They played the right game against Man City. They sort of let them have the ball, and then when we had it, I thought Morris was getting in the channels really well. And Grimes played a couple of lovely balls through. So I think they played the right game.
I think you've hit on 2 points that I've got down here about Morris being a threat on the break. And there was a couple of balls in the first half that Grimes pinpoint accuracy played to get us out of a tricky situation, or from somewhere in our defensive mentality into attack. One that stood out was one straight through the middle to Dhanda. Didn't amount to anything.
Yeah.
But that ball, it was like from near our own box, past the halfway line, turned on the break straight away. I know, if we could have done a bit better on the turn then, could have been a different story. But so I think those two definitely looked promising. Grimes had a good game. Morris looked sharp. I would like to see more of him in a championship where he's hopefully going to make more of an impact. He's definitely got some speed. I'm surprised he started with Lowe. I thought he would have been more likely to start with Ayew. What do you make of that?
Obviously Ayew's, how old is 30 something? But in terms of the amount of games he's been playing as well, I mean, they've all had a hefty amount of games, but for Ayew, perhaps he was required a rest, or
maybe
maybe he felt that Ayew might not have had the pace. If he was trying to play the counter-attacking game, which he seemed to be trying to do, maybe that's why he's decided to go with Morris and Lowe. Although the advantages of Ayew is that he can hold the ball up a bit better.
Yeah,
So
that's probably where I would have gone with that. The fact that he would be the guy that maybe holds ball up and allows that link. If like Grimes is playing that ball to Ayew, would give a little bit more of a platform to then spring a counter attack. Not saying that Dhanda had a bad game, but
yeah, I think that was the idea, wasn't it? He touched on that. I think, like we said with Ayew before, maybe he holds on to it a bit too long, and if you're playing that ball into midfield, because the thing is with Ayew, we probably look to come deep and get on the ball, especially when we didn't have it for long periods. And if he comes deep into the deep into the midfield there, and Grimes is playing that out ball into him, and they're going to press it hard and they lose it, they just straight back on you through the middle.
Yeah.
So I think he did the right thing in sort of playing two strikers that are just going to try and get in behind.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's a good take on it. But it's that's the whole point of opinions in football, isn't it? To offer different views on the matter. But yeah, I didn't think of it like that, so that's a good way to look at it. I think we touched though in the video we did before the game. We definitely thought we were going to play on the counter, and that is what we did. Now we thought maybe they would have changed it up after half time when we were talking at half time, but he didn't. He's kept the same, which isn't a bad thing, but not a great start to the second half. And nobody can put the blame on Cooper for this one. Well, for either of the next two. You have your half-time team talk. You try and get them fired up for the second half. You're only one goal behind, even if it is Manchester City. It's the FA Cup. You only need one to take it to extra time, which we ended up getting one. But to make the start that we came out with, kind of like a little bit of a kick in the teeth. And young players are going to learn from their mistakes, I think, is the highlight from it. The first goal, Latabodia, quite similar to the goal that we conceded against Nottingham Forest, where he's giving the ball away somewhere you just can't give the ball away.
Yeah, I remember it now.
Roberts was the first goal, wasn't it, after half time?
Was it? I thought that was the third. Or was it?
Yeah, Sterling was the first one right on half time with Roberts jumping out.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so Roberts has come forward because I assume he's envisioned the ball's going to go one way and then it just goes straight over his head. And, I think it was actually, I think the next person there was then Latty, but he was sort of center of the box.
Yeah.
About 20 yards, and the ball's basically gone into the corner.
Yeah, you are right. My mistake. The goals are so close together that I just got them mixed up. But you are right. The Roberts, not Roberts, sorry. That first goal was when Roberts sort of went into no man's land. The commentary was saying that Latabodia had to switch off and should have done better. But for me, Roberts running forward has left him isolated. He's in his correct position with the defensive three. You've got the player. I can't remember who scored it. Was it It wasn't Sterling. This one, was it?
Sterling was the first one.
It was Sterling.
Yeah,
so Sterling, he's there on obviously Latibodia's. Well, would be on the left side of the pitch if you're coming from Man City's direction. What's he meant to do? Because Roberts should be there. Really, we didn't have the ball. It seemed like Roberts kind of thought we had turned it over and went on a break. But
we sort of did, didn't we?
Yeah. It was,
Grimes sort of half won the ball in midfield, didn't he? And there was a bit of a scramble. And as soon as that started, he was gone, wasn't he? And then obviously they had won it back, and it was just one ball in behind. And if Robert stays where he is, then he's next to Sterling. So it's
Yeah, well, Sterling's probably going to keep the ball and pass it away, as Man City do. That's just what they do, isn't it? Or the ball doesn't come out to him. You don't know. The gap was there because Roberts had vacated. But it's unlike Roberts, really. I guess he was eager to get back into the game, and potentially, if we had won the ball, that's the sort of attack that could have swung it our way. But you've got to make sure we got the ball before you start making that run, especially with Sterling so far pushed forward. And I wouldn't put any blame on the centre-backs there. I just don't think they can't be expected. Like, how is he going to know Roberts has made that run? Because he's going to look over and be like, where's he gone?
Yeah.
He's got no time to react.
You could see in the replay that he was, focused on the ball, sort of center of the field. He wasn't. I think he was still expecting Roberts to be outside of him.
Yeah.
And it could have just been a phase of concentration, very early into the second half.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, the last 10 minutes after they scored the goal, I feel like we actually sort of looked a bit more alive. That's where those chances came from. But then coming back out, I think it was just a phase of concentration, and we just concede.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know why he's so eager to get out there. I mean, like half time, he'd be saying more of the same, keep it tight. Like especially the first. If they see if you keep it at 1-0 first 10, 15 minutes of the second half, then you don't know what happens. We had a couple of decent chances in the first half, like we were playing.
Yeah.
I don't know why he's so keen to rush out, but then again, it's probably asking him to do something different to what he's done all season. He's really high up all the time, isn't he, in most championship games?
That's the way we've been playing.
It's probably just a slip on his part where he's where he's not used to sort of being pinned back as a back five, and he's just rushed out as soon as he thought we got the ball. And it's just annoying that it came right after half time, which was game over, really, wasn't it?
A little bit over eager, you could say. He saw his name in the headlines a little bit or something. I don't know, but yeah, bit of a weird one from his point of view. But I guess for me, I'd rather see them do that sort of mistake trying to get a win in an FA Cup game against top opposition than to go and do that against Sheffield and get punished on the weekend. So hopefully you learn from that mistake and we move on. The next goal then, unfortunately, another error, and it was literally straight away after this one. I think it was something like 6 minutes between the goals or within that time. Latibodia, this one, as I did mention earlier, playing out of the back as he did against Forest and giving the ball away, which results in a goal. We nearly got away with it against Forest. They nearly made a mess of it, but ultimately ended up scoring. You're not going to get away with it against Man City, and he should know that more than anyone coming from there. And you give him the benefit of the doubt because he doesn't play so much. He's young, he's new, he's upcoming. But to do it twice in the two recent games he started, I think there's question marks there.
Yeah, I just don't think he's as comfortable on the ball as, like, say, Cabango and Guehi and Bennett and Norton out of the options. He's probably the least comfortable with ball at his feet. I don't know what he's been asked to do. If Cooper said, make sure you play out of the back, but even so, it's a bit of a suicide ball in there in the middle with so many bodies forward. Maybe that's time to just dump it. But having said that, thinking about that, like Bennett doesn't really mess about, does he? So
I think Bennett is experienced to the levels like, my manager is asking me to play out from the back, but I just know when I can't, and it just goes when it needs to go. It goes. And that's literally what Bennett brings. And there was some stuff on Twitter questioning him not playing. And I would agree, I would have loved for him to start. But all I can assume is he's had a couple of injury problems this year with like muscle injuries in the legs. So to ask him to play the amount of games we need him to, like 2 games in a week, and February's quite a compact month, he's more valuable to us in the league. So if you're going to rotate someone, you don't want him pulling a hamstring in this game and being out for the next month.
Yeah, definitely.
Even if it means we don't win this game, I would still. He's probably one that I wouldn't have wanted to risk. Okay,
yeah, I agree with that. I mean, one thing we do have to consider in terms of the back three is that they were all under the age of 22. Now, obviously, some of them have got a lot of, relatively, a good amount of first team football, like with us. But they're still young, and to play against the opposition had going against them, you can't fault them.
No.
But
I'd rather them keep playing the way they're playing as well and making their mistakes because they're trying to learn. And Cooper giving them that encouragement to keep doing it, not to go into their shell.
That's a good experience for them to have, isn't it?
Yeah. I think, honestly, they've probably just been completely caught off guard with the first goal. I'm not trying to make excuses, but, I can see them coming out, conceding that first goal, and then switching off a little bit again, and then concede the second, and then we're 3-0 down, and we're stuck.
You're on by the 2 in the second half now.
Yeah.
Kind of probably being a bit harsh again, but then when the ball comes across to Jesus, then he's over eager to try and win it back as well. He misses the header, really, doesn't he? And I know, like, he also has a good touch. But he just misses the header, doesn't he? And he just brings it down and scores. Then that's probably being a bit harsh.
Look, like I said at the start, and that's why I said it's going to sound like harsh criticism, because you always got to point out what happened in the game and what went wrong, where we could have improved. But by no means does this mean that these are bad players overnight and we're going to have a bad year now. And we know it was a tough game. That's just what I was trying to point out at the beginning. Okay, so Man City kind of played keep ball for quite a while after that, and it was a period where Cooper was trying to bring on subs for like over 5 minutes and just couldn't because the ball wouldn't go out. But he did make 4 substitutes, and we managed to see a debut for Whittaker, Arriola and Freeman, and Bidwell came on as well as centre-back to give Geehee a rest. So, we spoke about Morris. I think he had a positive start. I'd love to see more of him in the Championship. We've got Arriola coming on. I thought he was a bit quiet, but I don't think he could really get in the game too much. I don't know enough about him to know what he brings to the game, to know how we were playing compared to what he offers.
I mean, there was that one ball that was switched across towards him, but it was intercepted. I would have liked to have seen him actually do something, but obviously it was an interception. It's out of his hands. But other than that, I think there was one mistake where he lost the ball, but I'm pretty sure one of the other Swans players got in the way. I can't remember who.
I don't think losing the ball, everyone lost the ball at least once.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't think, and to be honest, to rate him or sort of pull something out of a game against Man City on him directly, I think that quite harsh and also hard to do because we had a quiet game in general.
Yeah, I'm not rating him or anything. I think he did look lively. He was trying to get involved. We just couldn't get him involved. Did you see anything from him, Lee?
Yeah, it's just a hard game to come on. Yeah, it's just a hard game to come on there, isn't it? Like, I think, were we 3-0 down at that point when he came on?
Yeah.
It's hard to judge any of the forward players, really, because it's just like minimal service, isn't it? So I can't really remember him touching the ball all that much. But yeah, he looked quite sharp though, same as Morris. So yeah, just watch your space, I think, with them, see what they can do in a chance to do.
Yeah, same. Freeman, come on. Bit hit and miss from me, but again, getting up to speed. He looked good defensively, and he was putting some big tackles in. I think it was 2 slide tackles he made that were quite big hits, and good big hits moving in the ball. But he looked a bit slacking or sloppy in possession. Obviously, he hasn't really played much football this year, so you can let him off with that. But, promising signs from him.
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna play all that much, is he? Because Roberts is he's probably gonna play most games. Roberts, even with the tight fixture list, but he'd be tidy to bring on like he did tonight. If say we're winning 2-0 in a championship game or something, and Roberts has played a lot, then he'll come on and see a game out. Probably, like you said, he looked quite solid defensively. Not as good with the ball at his feet, but probably can come on and see a game out.
Yeah,
if we need to do it.
And finally, then, so Whittaker, scored a goal on his debut. If I was going to say some of the score on his debut, I didn't expect him to play today. I think I said, but I'll take it. Derby fans were 50-50 split on him when he came. So saying a lot, some said he had high potential, others said he was just useless. So to see him score on his debut, that's really good positive for him. Obviously, the experience of Cooper in the England setup was probably why he's come. So if Cooper's seen something in him, potentially he could be a decent player on our hands.
I think his initial touch was relatively poor, but he definitely made up with that with the strike.
Funny enough, I've got that goal up on Twitter in front of me, and the ball is played into him. I think it's by Manning. It's quite a whipped cross, quite pacey, and his first touch, he kind of like takes the pace off the ball and keeps it like with him, in line with him. A little bit of a flick up, and he just sort of half volleys it in then, I guess, on when it lands back down. So I would argue that his first touch is actually quite controlled to keep it where he is and to allow him to have that opportunity to shoot. Like that ball could have gone anywhere off that first touch. I know if I was trying to control that, I probably would have gone anywhere, to be honest.
I mean, I probably need to have another look at it, but I think it might have just been because I remember it seeming to sort of bounce up to his chest.
Yeah,
right?
It bounces up
Sort of
because it sort of like lands as the ball's whipped in. It lands on his foot, sort of thing. If that makes sense.
Right. Okay.
So I guess he's sort of like uses his foot to angle it up, but I mean he takes all the direction off it and just keeps it where he is in a perfect position for him to take the shot. So for me, I think that's quite a good controlled.
Probably is touch. Then. I probably need to rewatch it and.
Yeah. This is all heat of the moment after the game.
Because, yeah, exactly. But sorry, I've just seen a post on Twitter actually about Mark Gui's tackle. Well, tackle, I guess, on Sterling, and it says the title is Mark Guy absolutely bodies Sterling. Or something like that.
Yeah, we'll move on to that in a second. Have you got anything you'd like to add on the goalie, Whittaker's goal?
Yeah, no, I think he takes it quite well. I think if I can remember, it might have been his first touch of the game. I can't really remember, but it was quite early after he came on, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I didn't expect to see him. I didn't really expect to see him play at all this season, to be honest. I thought it was just one for a future one, especially with Morris and Arriola coming in and Lowe and IU. I didn't think he'd play much at all this season. So to come on, and I think he took it really well. Good finish. So
Yeah.
another option again.
Another option. You still got Cullen and Routledge waiting in the wings, where I know Routledge is probably not going to have much longer left, but a lot of attacking options and some for the future coming through, which is a good sign.
I was surprised how tall he was.
Yeah, he's quite tall, which is probably good for us because we don't have that much
He's
height.
really tall, isn't he?
Yeah, we don't have a lot of height.
And we've been doing better from set plays and corners recently, so that could be another good thing for us, another good option. But yeah, that tackle in the first half, it could have been a penalty. If VAR's there, they're probably checking that. But to me, regardless of whether you think it is a penalty or not, I'm not sure if I do because I need to see it again. But I just want to say we were owed 2 decisions regardless, so it doesn't matter. That's literally all I want to say.
For me,
I don't think it was.
I think he's Sterling's lost the ball. Guy stayed away from him, sort of keeping him where he is. The ball's then gone behind them both, and I think as he's turned, they've just got caught up, and Sterling's just gone and got choke slammed.
Yeah, it's funny though. I mean, they called it a judo throw in the commentary, but like, I probably wouldn't have given it, but we could be biased. Like, I don't think it was much in it really. Okay,
can we take a moment to talk about the commentary?
Yeah, it was awful.
The commentary again was horrendous.
I don't know if you saw my tweet about it, because it might be linked to what you were going to say. I basically tweeted at halftime, just saying like you could tell how they. Like we were on TV in these big games. I think the similar thing happened maybe when we were on Sky the other day. They do a bit of research, but they don't really do enough. So they make comments like, we conceded that goal with Kyle Walker. They're saying it was unlucky, but then he goes and says something like, it's to be expected when they've changed 2 of the back 3 and they're all youngsters coming in. It's like, no, I think you'll find really only one of them doesn't play in that back 3 regular. Cabango and Guihi always play there. They were assuming Cabango has just come in, just plays the cup games, the way they were talking about it, because obviously Norton and Bennett played the last game. But we were surprised Norton played the last game ahead of Cabango, so that's frustrating. But yeah, what frustrated you?
Oh, just all of it. Like for me, the judo throw wasn't a penalty for me. He just kind of, like I said, he sits back and Sterling's behind him, and he's just trying to sort of shrug him off. And he's shown good strength.
Yeah.
And Sterling, he does makes a meal of it. And then they showed the replay about 5 times, and then he's like, "Oh, I don't know. They could check. If VAR was here and all that." And it's just really suggestive all the time. It wasn't a penalty for me at all.
Yeah.
And it just always goes towards the big teams. And then
I don't think anyone
afterwards, when he brings exactly, and then when he brought the 4 subs on, he said something like, "Oh, the pride is hurt now, and he's bringing on his regular players." Yeah, 3 of the players he was bringing on were all debuts, and he was saying they're bringing the regulars on.
Yeah.
The only
was
regulars.
That's their job, isn't it?
And then Hurricane after that.
Yeah, we started off as up and coming, we want to talk about football. So we're taking a little bit of effort to looking at some stuff, and of course we get stuff wrong and miss stuff out. But they get paid a lot of money to be on the telly and talk about it. You just expect them to get it right. And we don't get on there that often, especially against the big teams. So do us a little bit of credit, isn't it? It's just a bit annoying.
I had the ESPN on, and I have no idea who the commentators were, but one of them was American, and you could see he was a big supporter of Man City because all he talked about was Man City. And I know a lot of the game was all Man City, but just everything was them, and then when it was all when it was us, it was just very, I don't know,
Yeah.
poor, I guess.
They were very complimentary of Mark Geehee, to be fair to them. But I guess like he's going to go back to Chelsea, really, isn't he? So they're just looking and maybe one for the future for England. Didn't see them have the same amount of statistics behind Cabango, who is the equivalent to Wales. Just putting that out there.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point.
I only just thought about that, but they didn't really know much about him. They didn't even know that he's a regular starter for us. So. Okay, moving on from the commentary. I just want to maybe have a couple of notes about individual performances before we finish the video. I think Woodman had a really solid game, considering he conceded 3 goals. He made some good saves with some more good ones in the second half. I think he had a good game. He showed he's definitely a strong keeper and one for the future. Yeah.
I definitely agree. I think Newcastle are quite lucky to, have him as signed with them, even though he's on loan to us at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm looking at BBC Sport ratings now. I don't know how. This is the first time I've actually seen these ratings. I don't know how many people have voted or anything like that, but he's got a 6.4 or 0.4. Sorry.
I don't think he could really do anything about any of the goals.
Quite funny because the highest is actually Whittaker with a 6.66.
Well, if you have like two touches and score a goal, it's not bad, is it? I don't know if he had 2 touches.
He's class again for me. Woodman again is always solid. He doesn't really do much wrong, does he? Like he makes the saves he's supposed to. He didn't do anything about the other ones. That save in the first half was class.
Yeah, on Torres, that was a good save. Everyone, I think, thought that was going in. Yeah. We mentioned Latibodia already, but I just want to give him justice. We pointed out the negatives. I just want to say the one thing really stood out. He did make a really good goal-saving tackle. To be fair.
Yeah, I was about to point that out as soon as you mentioned his name. We did forget to mention it earlier.
Yeah, so we've got to credit him with that because that was a really good tackle there. For me, then you've got the other centre backs. They were right. He had a good game. Cabango, I thought, was average. First half, he was a bit shaky in possession on times, gave the ball away poorly, but he made up for that with some good key balls, quite similar to what Grimes was playing, threaded through the middle. So decent outing considering it was Man City. Then I don't think Ryan Manning had a good game. I'm looking at the SofaScore ratings and he's got a 7.1 on here. I really don't think he played that great, to be honest.
That's it's a 5.88 on BBC, and that's that's the 3rd lowest rating.
Yeah, so BBC is voted for, isn't it? SofaScore, they base it on the statistics. I just think, look, I'm not criticising him. He doesn't play that much football as well, but I just thought he was a bit sluggish, and in possession he was a little bit weak as well. In the first half when we were looking to build, I felt like he let us down quite regular.
I was going to say, defensively, I think he was all right. But going forward, I think he was quite weak. And I don't know if that's going to lead on with what you were going to say, Lee.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, boys. I think I don't think he had a very good game, especially with the ball at his feet. Like he gives so many. I know it's Man City and they do press hard. There were so many wayward passes in that first half, like in the touch and losing the ball. But I think it wasn't helped because I think they had targeted that channel between him.
They were definitely attacking down there a lot with Torres was making sure he stayed wide and Walker was coming in quite a lot to help. And they did pick up on that.
And Silva was floating in. Yeah, Bernardo Silva was floating in. So I think him and Guehi were quite pinned back on that. And I think when he got the ball, he was just reluctant to go forward, or he was just looked a bit nervous on the ball.
Yeah.
But yeah, just a couple of I don't think not his best game.
And Grimes was coming back to help over there as well. And to be fair, defensively, he did do okay. They did all right over there, okay. I know the first goal came from that corner, but otherwise, they did all right over there. I'm just talking about going forward. If we had to offer, if we were going to get a goal and offer more, I felt like he let us down a little bit. But, don't want to be too harsh. Connor Roberts as well has taken a bit of stick on Twitter tonight, saying that his head kind of went a bit. I think obviously because he had that lapse in concentration that led to the goal, and interaction he had with Sterling squared up to him a little bit, which I personally think it was the right decision to take him off. He didn't have his best game, but that's what he does, isn't it? He does that in the championship against other players and gets in their head. So,
yeah.
For me, though, there is one thing I do want to criticise him for. I think he goes down too easily sometimes, and it's not positive for the team. So there was one in the first half where Laporte came in with a tackle. It turns out it was a good tackle. He's just shouting about it on the floor. And as soon as he sees the refs not giving it to him, he's straight back up. Which, okay, you're going to try and win the free kick. That one wasn't so bad. The one in the second half, where we had possession of the ball, we were on the break. He's down on the floor. He's rolling around. I think we carried on playing then for a bit. Eventually, he gets back up and he's completely fine. You can tell he wasn't hurt at all. He's completely fine. We could have kicked the ball out. We were on the attack. We could have kicked the ball out then because he stayed down. We're looking for a goal, and we didn't kick it out, luckily. But I just think, like, why? We've got the ball. Just get up. Like, if we had kicked that out, stop the attack, then there's all the momentum gone, isn't it? I just don't get it.
Yeah, well, he does do it quite a lot. But again, I think like that's probably the stuff he gets. Same with him coming out defensively for the goal. That sort of stuff that he does, he gets away with it week in, week out in the championship, and you're just not going to get those 50-50 decisions against Man City.
Especially with 3-0
controversial,
down.
But yeah, you don't get them. Like if that's Sterling rolling around on the floor, he probably gets it. As wrong as it probably sounds. But yeah, I agree with you. Like Ayew does it a bit as well, doesn't he? He likes to stay down on the floor for ages. And I hate that. I think like just get on with it.
There is a time for it sometimes when you're time wasting, or if the other team's got the ball and you want the ref or them to kick it out. But if we're on the attack, why do you want us to kick it out? We're 3-0 down. You know you're not hurt, so just get back up. Why do you even want that free kick when we're ahead of you with the ball? Why is that benefiting us? But yeah, that's just one for me. But obviously got taken off then. I don't want to criticise him too heavily, but that side of his game, I think, is something that I would like to see him step back a little bit. But you could disagree with me, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, any notable performances? I think we've touched on most other players. Dhanda's yellow card was interesting.
I think in the first half when that, I don't even know what Man City player it was, but someone went down and the ref, we had possession and the ref
the head,
it back.
Yeah. You said
we still had the ball, I believe. Whether we would have scored or built up from that, I don't know, but
I think he did stop it after our attack had fizzled out, but he shouldn't have stopped it because it wasn't head injury. It was a leg.
That was frustrating because it was the first little bit of possession that we had as well. So we were starting to look a bit better on the ball, and then he's stopping the game then. And then I think actually we lost the ball then, like straight away from the drop ball, like shortly after, and they nearly went up the other end and scored. I think that was the Sterling, the way he tackled on Sterling then. I think.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was Garcia it was, and Roberts was over there for some reason on the left, which is fine. It was a good position to be in. Roberts wins the ball. Garcia's like stretching for it, I think, and it goes down. And I think Roberts crosses it in there. And when we're talking about that incident,
he does.
He had so much time to pass that ball because Garcia was on the floor. I don't think maybe he realised, but I was there like, oh my God, you've got so much time. Like, you could have picked someone out. But yeah, he could have scored, and then I wouldn't have been saying that. So, but yeah, that was weird, the ref stopping the game there. Did you want to say something on Dhanda earlier, Lee?
Yeah, no, I was going to say about a couple of performances. I think like Grimes, again, solid. He seemed to pick up scraps again, even though there was hardly anything to pick up on. He seemed to be putting a foot in and playing some good balls. I'll be a bit controversial. Like still with Dhanda for me, he's really good on the ball, and he does always have a touch of class. He's got a good ball in him. I'm not faulting him for that. But in a game like that where we need to win ball in midfield, he doesn't do that at all. I know it's Man City. He does it in the Championship as well. Those sort of like half chances to get the ball. Those like second balls.
Yeah.
Where
Jay Felton would like lunge into the tackle.
Yeah, and I'm not saying he has to he doesn't have to go and like foul everybody, but he just doesn't seem to throw any weight around. There was a couple of ones in the first half, which I remember where it was like somebody in midfield, like Gundogan or someone like that, had a heavy touch, and he just doesn't attack it at all. He doesn't put his foot in anyway. And in a game like that, you have got to be a little bit aggressive in those areas where they are like having those heavy touches, or maybe there was like a short ball or something, and he just seemed to come out second best all the time. Again, I know it's Man City, and you can say, but
Yeah,
I just like to see him stick a foot in a bit more.
I think the themes do continue to the Championship, and I think he's kind of got a bit of a tag now for me as a bit of a luxury player.
Yeah, definitely.
He's there when you think you've got the space and you can afford to have one player not defending as much as the others. Whereas if you're going to play with a flat three, whether it's Smith or Horahan that comes in, you know they're going to be a little bit more solid defensively. And Horahan can also offer the goal threat. He scored more goals than Dhanda this season.
That's something that Byers did do when he was fit. He wasn't afraid of a tackle, and he used to stick.
He did like a tackle.
And again, not like slating Dhanda too much, because I think he is good, but I think you've hit the nail on the head there, saying he's a bit of a luxury player now. I wouldn't start him in any sort of say a Cardiff game or something. Like a Smith obviously would get his body, and then Fulton and Grimes does, and Horahan does. I think out of all the midfielders we got in there, he doesn't. He's the only one that doesn't really do that.
It's kind of a bit like Selena, really, under Cooper.
Yeah, exactly like that.
I
think Selena threw his toys out of the pram.
Yeah.
I think Dhanda definitely, he's decent with the press, but like you said, he doesn't stick a foot in.
Yeah, he gets to the player and stops.
Yeah,
I think you could hear Mike Marsh shouting at him, saying "get tighter" quite a lot actually, because he was going up, but he was keeping that distance. So if you watch in the first half, you could hear him
isn't it?
"get tighter, get tighter."
Yeah, it's very passive from him, I feel. Whereas Fulton would just, or even Grimes or any other person, I feel like they would just get in there.
I know, people might say you've got to be careful with that. You can't sort of jump into tackles because they shift it on the net and then you're out of position.
Yeah.
But if you look at the way sort of Grimes and Fulton operate, they slow the play down. They go in and they do attack people and they get physical. While staying in position, they just make it harder for midfielders to pass the ball around. Whereas if he's just standing off players like he was, then it's just so easy for them to just move the ball around.
And I was going to say, and then we're saying all this about him not sticking a foot in, and then he decides to stick his foot in, and he completely got it wrong. He was absolutely nowhere near, he was going, you could tell he was trying to win the ball, and they mentioned that in the commentary. It was definitely a yellow card. He completely got nowhere near the ball, and Rodri is injured as a result of it, which... It's not nice to see. They're not in the same league as us, so they're fighting for things, and it's unfortunate. That was a bit of a naughty one.
It's it's almost like a striker's challenge, wasn't it? He doesn't usually stick a foot in, like a striker's challenge, even though he's not a striker.
That's a thing for us to consider in a way, though, because you think of Grimes and Fulton, and they're not afraid to stick a foot in, but they've got the quality to stick a foot in and make those tackles.
Yeah.
Whereas obviously Dhanda is basically just a straight out cam, isn't he? Whereas Fulton and Grimes, they're more CDM, aren't they? So defensive role is more for those two. So perhaps he just hasn't got the confidence and the ability as such to stick a foot in.
It doesn't mean that he couldn't change, though, because when Grimes started at the club, he was a central attacking midfielder, and so was George Byers, and we kind of transitioned those to drop a little bit more back. So, the opportunity's there. He's just got to show that he can do it a little bit more and be a little bit more of a sort of dog in the midfield, I guess, and drop that luxury tag, which is, we don't really play a system that allows for that very often, so he needs to do that for himself, really, more than anything. I told you before that when you're doing these bets, the and the yellow card is always one to consider. He gets them quite a lot considering how much he don't play.
If he gets one every time he plays, though.
Well, it's not every time, because we did it in one of the last games. I think the last time he played, and he didn't get one. But he did the one before, I think. But yeah, okay, so anything else we've missed out that you want to discuss?
I feel like potentially, though. I think he had a very quiet game, but there was a few times I feel like he should have done a little bit better. I know it's obviously against Kyle Walker in one or two occasions.
It was just a pace.
I think he should have done a little bit better for me.
I don't think he's expecting him to get back that quick, because otherwise he would have sort of shielded the ball.
Kyle Walker is really quick.
He would have shielded the ball otherwise.
I think he just backed himself in a race and lost. I genuinely think that's what happened. He got caught out. He's not played against Premier League opposition before. He's come up from lower leagues. He's a PE teacher. Do you know what I mean? Like, credit to where he's got, but like, yeah, he got caught out. I think that's literally all you can say. Kyle Walker is quick, even though he's getting on.
Yeah.
And yeah, he got in a couple of times. Got in the first half. Some good runs. Did work with him and Morris up front. I think there's definitely potential. Now we've seen it. Even though I was saying I was surprised. He just done his normal thing, didn't he? He just tried as hard as he could. We didn't give him much service. It was hard to judge. But yeah. Okay, so anything else to add then before I end the stream? I'll just say I did call 3-1 in our predictions stream video.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I was 2-1, but Lee with the 3-1. Was it 3-1 for Swans that you called, or was it 2-1?
2-1. There was a lot of optimism, and you can't argue with that. You've got to be optimistic before the FA Cup games. I was just playing like, I guess it was one of them head over heart when I made my prediction, and well, I was right other than the goal scorer. I said Morris, but well, cheers for coming on, Lee and Alid. Shame we can't be celebrating a win, but at the same time, I think we all kind of felt realistically this would be the end of the journey. Now we can focus completely on the league, and hopefully we'll be playing Man City next season anyway. So yeah, subscribe if you did enjoy the stuff we spoke about and want to hear more from us in the future, and leave a like as well to show us that you did enjoy, and tell us in the comments if you did agree with us or what we drastically got wrong with our views. We hope to engage in the discussion, so we're just here to hear everyone's opinions and start a constructive conversation. Everyone's opinion is valid. So on that note, we shall see you in the next video. So we've got Six Nations one coming out either tomorrow or Friday, and we'll also get a Sheffield Wednesday pre-match in, and then go from there. So we shall see you in the next video. So see you later, guys, and cheers for coming.
Cheers.
See you soon.